SLT speed up සවාරිය සමගින් සද්දන්ත වාසි රැල්ලක්. අලුත් broadband සබඳතා සඳහා පළමු මාස දෙක පුරා data double speed up with SLT.
Making headlines on First at 9. Grand celebration. Derana International Kite Festival 2018 decorates skies above the Gulf face green.
This is my first time here in Sri Lanka for your kite festival.
It's a big event, I can see that.
The Sri Lankan kites, they have the character.
Upholding democracy. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe affirms government created an environment that respects democracy.
Those who deny freedom to others do not deserve freedom themselves.
One Sri Lanka. TNM PMA Samandre pledges their full support for an undivided country in the making of a new constitution. Issuing clarifications. Chief Operations Officer of Hambantota Port asserts that Sri Lanka Navy in authority of port security.
There can't be any port anywhere in Sri Lanka without the Navy being present. So they are the official authority.
Another tragedy. Lombok Island shaken by a strong earthquake after weeks of tremors that killed more than 400. A very good evening to all our viewers who have joined us here on First at 9, another Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to our top story tonight. Sri Lanka's biggest international kite festival organised by TV Derana's morning programme Lokaya Saha Lokaya was held at Gulf face green today. Now the festival attracted over 3,000 kite enthusiasts from every corner of the country and around the world. The skies above Gulf face green turned into a colourful display of amazing kites of different shapes and sizes. Now the winner of the 6 categories will be announced tomorrow.
Derana Lokaya Saha Lokaya Kite Festival is renowned as one of the biggest kite festivals organised in the world. This year's festival is organised for the 4th consecutive year since 2014. During this time, the blue sky of the Gulf face green changed into a colourful battlefield, and thousands of men, women, children were seen flying their beautiful kites above. The festival also drew the participation of 40 international competitors from 10 countries, including Nepal, Brunei, Malaysia, Thailand, Norway, China, Macau, Taiwan, India and Singapore. They were seen tuning their kites and making them fly.
This is my first time here in Sri Lanka for your kite festival. It has been a great experience to see so many people here. I've never seen such a big crowd at kite festival, and it's an awesome sight to behold. Everyone enjoying themselves. So thank you for having this event here in Sri Lanka.
It's a big event, I can see that. And it's many people interested in kite flying, so that makes us feel happy.
We found this event very interesting, especially the Sri Lankan kites, because they have the character. It is entirely different from other kites. Those Sri Lankan kites, I am very impressed.
The competition began at 1 this afternoon under many categories. Accordingly, competitors competed under 6 categories, which were the under 15 age group, creative kite, the biggest and the smallest kite, the most colourful kite and the finest kite with the Lokaya Saha Lokaya logo. Many celebrities featuring in the most popular reality shows and teledramas telecast by TV Derana graced the event. Talented individuals discovered and introduced through the Lokaya Saha Lokaya program were also seen at the event. A grand musical show was held, followed by the competition, where many artists were seen performing for the crowd.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that although the government has created a climate of democracy in the country, there are those who abuse it. The Prime Minister also questioned the media's role in establishing democracy in the country. He expressed these views at an event held in Kegalle today.
An event to hand over land title deeds to 1,364 individuals in Kegalle district in view of completing 3 years the government of good governance was held under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
We live in a democratic society. There are those who make use of this freedom while there are those who misuse it. There are doctors protesting against the Singapore FTA. Universities have closed down because of protests. When I see such incidents taking place, I'm reminded of a quote from Abraham Lincoln.
Those who deny freedom to others do not deserve freedom themselves.
People of the country now have the freedom to elect who they wish and protect their fundamental rights. We have never hindered this process by kidnapping people in white vans or committing murders. We will be holding provincial council elections very soon. It is not us who is holding this up, but the Elections Commissioner. All party leaders have been notified. These are all taking place without any issues. Some say there are conflicts within the government and we are fighting among each other. For the first time in the country's history, the two main parties came together. You cannot solve issues overnight when the two parties, which have been in conflict with each other for 45 years, have just started working together. This is just a phase. I understand why the SLFP are in opposition of certain decisions while they too have a clear understanding what the UNP is doing. We have to protect this climate of democracy irrespective of the parties are together or not. As Lord Buddha once said, we can peacefully gather, discuss and even part ways. If we implement this in Parliament, this is what we call perfect democracy. Media, however, charges that there is no democracy. I do not know if the media wants to protect democracy or not.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaraweera says that there will be no option left but hire workers from overseas if the youth reject blue-collar job opportunities in the country, which offer higher pay compared to the Middle East. He expressed these views at an event held in Mathura today.
The launch of District Office of the Enterprise Sri Lanka program was held under the auspices of Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaraweera at Mathura today.
We have to end this era where we see people standing in line in front of Minister's office until they get a job in the government. The truth is, there are no job vacancies in the state sector anymore. By giving more and more jobs and filling our ministries with people in a manner that our government is unable to handle is a sin. In a ministry where we have allocated salaries for 1,000 persons, we have 3,000 employees. During a certain period in my political time, I'm also blamed for doing this. When you're a minister and when you enter Parliament, we tend to hire our supporters for vacancies that are not even there. And at the end, we turn these institutions into loss-making entities. In this country, we have vacancies that pay more than the Middle East for manual labour. However, our countrymen are ashamed to work in the same positions for more pay in our own country. If we continue like this, we will have no choice but to employ people from overseas to fill these job roles in the near future.
Minister of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs Dr. Vijayadasa says that although he respects and accepts the decision of the Supreme Court, the verdict given on former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga's term of office was erroneous. The minister highlights that according to the provisions of the Constitution, if a president contests for an election and is elected before the end of his or her term, the remaining term of office will be added to the new term of office.
If a president is seeking public mandate for another term in office at a juncture where 5 years of the term is completed and prior to achieving 6-year completion, the new term, provided election to office, will be recognized following the completion of the previous term. This is clearly stated by the provisions of the Constitution. The Supreme Court's verdict on former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga was completely wrong. It said that the former president's first term in office will be limited to 5 years, taking into account that she was sworn in once more. In fact, taking oath is completely irrelevant. We bow to the decision of the Supreme Court, but it was wrong.
Parliamentarian M.A. Samandre today pledged his support on an undivided country through the proposed constitution. The parliamentarian made these remarks during a seminar held in Ratnapura today.
All proposals on devolution of power mentioned in this constitutional draft are made by senior ministers of the UPFA. As the TNA, we have already mentioned our stance. We have also said that we will agree to the final draft only if the two major parties agree with it. We don't want another country and we don't want it to be divided. We are ready to live in an undivided country.
The joint opposition says they will hold the largest anti-government protest in the country on the 5th of September. However, the government says that no one will be able to topple the government and aims to continue its reign until 2020. A meeting was held at the Udugampal office of UPF MP Prasanna Ranatunga today to hold discussions on the anti-government protests which will be held on 5th of September, organised by the joint opposition.
This is the start of a journey towards victory. This is a protest to save the country from the destruction the government is inflicting upon each and every one.
Meanwhile, various factions representing the joint opposition expressed views on the protest at several events today as well.
The people are asking for Mahinda Rajapaksa. 24 hours after he was defeated and had to go home, there were followers who wanted him to stay in power. It is still the same. This is the end of the government. We request everyone to come forward and defeat these traitors.
This protest is the beginning of a broader plan to send the government home. On the 5th of September, we will be holding the biggest protest the country has ever seen.
Meanwhile, UPFA's General Secretary Minister Mahinda Samaraweera, speaking on behalf of the government, expressed his views on the joint opposition protest.
For how long have they tried to topple the government? It cannot be done overnight. Do you remember how in the past they held a protest march from Kandy to Colombo to topple the government? 2 years ago they said they will defeat this government before Vesak. Then they said they will draw a large crowd to Gulface Green and establish a new government. Now they are organising rallies and protests for a new government.
The security of the Hambantota port has come under much scrutiny by various parties in the recent past. It was in this backdrop that Chief Operations Officer of the Hambantota International Port Group Private Limited, Tis Wickramasinghe, provided clarification on the matter. He said that the Sri Lanka Navy is the official authority to provide security to ports across the country. During a recently held media briefing regarding the port, Wickramasinghe went on to highlight that as per the law of Sri Lanka Navy will always hold jurisdiction over security matters of the Hambantota port.
All ports globally are covered under what is called the International Shipping and Port Security Code system, for which the government-appointed agency is the Sri Lanka Navy. There can't be any port anywhere in Sri Lanka without the Navy being present. So they are the official authority for that. Inside the Hambantota port, what we do have is 3 detachments which are rapid deployment units that is formed inside the port, so they can be deployed anytime within the bonded area in the port. Navy personnel are present at each and every entry-exit point to the port. So you have the Navy, Customs, and you have our own security people. So we do work together with the Sri Lanka Navy because it's absolutely essential for us from a security perspective, as well as to project our image as an internationally recognized port.
Wickramasinghe also revealed of interest of international parties towards the Hambantota port.
We have had so far 1 naval visit, and that happens to be from the Japanese naval ship which came on a goodwill visit. Followed very closely by this was a visit by a foreign Japanese delegation from their Ministry of Foreign Affairs and their defense attaché in South Asia and the defense attaché from the Japanese embassy. So there's a lot of interest from various countries to see how we are progressing and where we are now.
Various politicians expressed their views regarding former President Mahinda Rajapaksa coming forth as the presidential candidate for 2020. Let's now take a look at what both opposition and the government had to say on the matter.
The former president is attempting to deceive the public by saying that he could contest once more, and this is due to lack of candidates and to divert the attention from international crisis. I suggested former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's name. I trust that he could contest, so I believe he will be allowed by law to contest the presidential election. This is an utter lie. There is no such law. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution clearly states that a president who had been in power twice cannot even become a presidential candidate. Experts of law have clearly stated that there is a chance for former President Mahinda Rajapaksa to contest once more and become the presidential candidate.
National Freedom Front leader and UPFA Parliamentarian Vijayadasa alleges that the government does not have a proper development policy over the assets of the country, such as Samandre Port and Mattala Airport. The Parliamentarian made these remarks addressing a party membership drive held in Kalutara yesterday.
Why is India buying the Mattala International Airport at a cheaper rate? India has a number of airports and most of them are larger than Mattala. Since they have the Chennai airport, why come to Mattala? They come to Mattala because it is strategically important for them. That's why Dr. Rajitha Senaratne said that the Hambantota port was given to China and they will give Mattala International Airport to India to diplomatically balance the neighbours. He can even say that was not enough and will even give them the Palali airport as well. They have already asked for the Kankasanture port. This government will say that they will hand over the Sigura rock to India if it means in the name of development. Indian media reported that Sri Lanka has agreed to sign the EDCA agreement before the end of this year. Don't reach the Prime Minister for any reason, for he will even hand you over to India in the name of development.
The Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation has decided to increase railway fare with effect from the 1st of October. Secretary to the Ministry, G.S. Vithanage, announced that the relevant gazette notification will be issued in the near future. Vithanage added that the Cabinet of Ministers was already informed about the tariff hike plan. He also said that a tariff hike on railways had not taken place since 2008. However, he added that the minimum fare of ₹10 will not be changed. A restaurant at Andigame in Anamaduwa was attacked by a group of thugs at around 10 p.m. last night. CCTV footage shows that a group of 4 people who had arrived in a motorcycle forcefully entered into the restaurant using swords and batons. The restaurant owner says that the reason behind the attack is owing to a previous conflict surrounding a gang member having dined at the hotel without paying. The restaurant owner alleges that the suspect told him about their close connections to a politician in the area, and as a result, the police are hesitant to arrest them. However, an official from the Anamaduwa police station asserted that all 4 suspects had been identified and an investigation is launched to arrest the perpetrators. And with that, let's go into a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. An event was held recently to unveil the latest graphene processing technology which can produce multi-layered graphene from locally mined graphite at half the cost of current international price. Graphene is considered to be the world's thinnest, strongest and most conducive material or conductive material to both electricity and heat. The Ministry of Industry and Commerce added that the government aims to increase the share of mining in GDP. The mining and quarrying activity contributes nearly 2.7% to Sri Lanka's GDP. In the first quarter of 2018, output value of mining and quarrying was an estimated $625 million with a reported 0.6% growth rate. Iran told OPEC today no member country should be allowed to take over another member's share of oil exports, expressing Tehran's concern about Saudi Arabia's offer to pump more oil in the face of US sanctions on Iranian sales. In a meeting with OPEC Secretary General Mohammad Barkindo, a senior Iranian diplomat urged him to keep the group out of politics. Iran's oil ministry news agency Shana quoted Kazim Garibabadi, the permanent envoy to Vienna-based international organizations, as saying no country is allowed to take over the share of other members for production and exports of oil under any circumstances. In May, US President Donald Trump pulled out of an international nuclear deal with Iran and announced sanctions against the OPEC member. Washington is pushing allies to cut imports of Iranian oil to zero and will impose a new round of sanctions on Iranian oil sales in November. Iran is the third largest oil producer in the organization of the petroleum exporting countries after Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Trump has called on OPEC to pump more oil to bring down prices. Energy ministers of Saudi Arabia, a US ally, and Russia said in May they were prepared to ease output cuts to calm consumer worries about supply. Market analysts expect turnover levels and market activity to remain moderate over the course of the week. During the week, the Osha Price Index lost 1.5%, while the S&P SL 20 decreased by 2.4%. For a detailed report on how the market will perform this week, we have Achadan Srirangan from First Capital Holdings.
Following the heavy decline in the market and the prevailing attractive valuation, we expect some buying interest step into the market. Turnover levels and the activities are likely to remain moderate, with the bulk of the investors are waiting for the market to bottom out. Despite uncertainty leaving most of the investors on the wait-and-see mode, we expect some early movers coming with a buying interest. Foreign selling pressure that is prevailing likely to be slowly get absorbed, improving confidence level of the market.
The Indonesian island of Lombok has been shaken by another strong earthquake just weeks after tremors that have killed more than 476 people. Today's 6.3 magnitude caused landslides, however, no casualties reported immediately. Indonesia's Lombok Island has again been shaken by another strong earthquake measured 6.3 magnitude today. Residents said the tremor was felt strongly to the east of the island and sent people fleeing into the streets. Officials said they are still assessing the situation following the latest quake. The biggest quake, which was 6.9 magnitude, hit the island on the 5th of August, killing more than 460 people. It leveled homes, mosques and businesses, displacing hundreds of thousands of people, including many tourists. Lombok suffered more than $342 million in damages following the earthquake on 5th of August. Indonesia is prone to earthquakes because it lies on the Ring of Fire, the line of frequent quakes and volcanic eruptions that circles virtually the entire Pacific Ring. Ecuador has brought in new rules to stop Venezuelan migrants entering the country without a passport, leaving many stranded in neighboring Colombia. Colombia has protested against the move, saying vulnerable people will be trapped on its side of the border.
Thousands of Venezuelans fleeing their country's economic and political crisis have been crossing into Ecuador from Colombia using only identity cards. Most are heading south to join family members in Peru and Chile. However, immigration officials in Ecuador are requiring all Venezuelans entering to have a passport. But with Venezuela gripped by economic crisis, food shortage and sharp political divisions, those immigrating say getting a passport is not easy. More than 1 million Venezuelan migrants have entered Colombia in the past 15 months, and more than 4,000 have been arriving at Ecuador's border every day. With the flow of Venezuelan migrants causing tensions across the region, Peru's government also announced immigration measures similar to Ecuador's on Friday. Passport requirements for Venezuelans will begin on 25th August. In February, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos announced a tightening of border controls. Brazil, which neighbors Venezuela, has also expressed concerns and temporarily closed the border earlier this month. Venezuela is suffering from the highest inflation in the world, with severe shortages of basic food items and medicines.
Rescue efforts are being stepped up in the flood-hit Indian state of Kerala, where monsoon rains have eased for the time being. The Indian Meteorological Department has removed a red weather alert from all districts, though some areas are still underwater. India's Air Force and Navy helicopters are airlifting stranded people from rooftops and dropping food supplies to those they cannot yet reach. Now, more than 350 people have died in the floods and thousands remain marooned. Officials said rescue teams are focused on the riverside town of Chenganur, where as many as 5,000 are feared to be trapped. Hundreds of government boats have been deployed across Kerala to aid the rescue. Entire villages have been lost due to landslides, and soldiers are now clearing the debris and building temporary bridges to help restore transport links. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi surveyed the state from the air on yesterday and has promised a relief fund of 5 billion Indian rupees. Time to get your latest from the world of entertainment with our segment 70 Seconds of Entertainment.
This week, the world lost a music legend and icon for women empowerment with the passing of Aretha Franklin, and her publicist announced yesterday that Franklin's funeral will take place on the 31st of August in her hometown of Detroit. The Queen of Soul will be laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery, where her father, her siblings and nephew are also buried. Forbes announced its list of highest paid actresses in the world, and Scarlett Johansson clinched the top spot with her earnings of $40.5 million for playing the role Black Widow. Angelina Jolie clinched number 2 after her upfront pay for Maleficent 2, leaving Jennifer Aniston at number 3. Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra officially confirmed their engagement yesterday and shared identical photos on Instagram of a private engagement ceremony held in Mumbai. No date has yet been announced for the wedding. Marvel Studios will be celebrating 10 years of filmmaking this year, with all 20 films spanning the Marvel Cinematic Universe returning to theatres. The 10th anniversary film festival from August 30th to September 6th will screen exclusively in selected IMAX theatres across US and Canada.
Well, that was only 70 seconds of entertainment news, but we've got a lot more from where that came from. Our exclusive program Showbiz Tonight will air right after the news. Make sure you stay tuned in for that. Here's Mahish to tell us as to what's coming up on his show. Mahish?
Well, thank you so much, Chang. Yes, indeed, we will have a lot more entertainment news coming up on Showbiz Tonight. Will Mission Impossible be able to cling on for the top spot 3 weeks straight at the box office, or will it be all washed out, like maybe by a huge shock? Find out what I'm talking about right after the news. Stick around.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
The 77th Men's and Women's Latent Cup Boxing Championship 2018, organised by the Amateur Boxing Association, concluded yesterday at the Royal College Mas Arena. Sri Lanka Army boxing team swept the board by winning 10 gold medals, 4 silver medals and 8 bronze medals.
Over 138 boxers participated in the 5-day tournament, which was attended by a large number of leading sports clubs in the country. Jeevan Kumara from Air Force was adjudged the best boxer, while Sanjeev Anuwan from Army was the best loser. Meanwhile, in the women's event, LG Chandrika from Army was adjudged the best boxer, while PKR Kaushalya became the best loser.
Sri Lankan swimmer Matthew Abesinghe, who is currently competing at the Asian Games that are underway in Jakarta, Indonesia, set a new national record today. Abesinghe was able to finish the 200-meter freestyle event within 2 minutes and 50 seconds, breaking his own record. However, this attempt was not enough to reach the final round of the event at the Asian Games.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Manusha Jayathilaga is at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening everyone and welcome to Forecast First. The northern and eastern provinces of the island will have to brace for some scorching temperatures tomorrow, with the highest temperature of 35 degrees Celsius expected in Batiklo and Ampara districts. As usual, those who are in the central province will experience milder temperatures, with the lowest being 20 degrees Celsius. Moving on to your rain forecast now, upper region of the country except Putlam will have sunny and favourable weather conditions tomorrow. But those who are in the lower region of the island will have to expect showers or thunder showers. That's all that we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Let's now take a look at your city-by-city forecast.
And before we leave you tonight, we would like to end the news with a quote from French author Anais Nin, where she says, "Throw your dreams into space like a kite and you do not know what it will bring back. A new life, a new friend, a new love, a new country." With that, we leave you with more breathtaking moments from Sri Lanka's biggest international kite festival in Gulf-Face Green. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.